Hello and welcome to Not So Quick Take TA here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is May 31st, 2024, and we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We do have a monthly close coming in as today is currently the actual June 24th candle. It is still May 31st for me, but we will be taking a look at Bitcoin on the monthly and what to expect now that we have had the monthly close come in. As we do have in this current June timeframe, we have the 2-month and the quarterly closing as well. So we're going to take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at Ethereum, Solana, and Caspa. And in addition to that, we're going to take a look at some RUNECOINs. And I believe there was an update to Magic Eden as well. So we might check on that to see if they have their charts up now. Now, when looking at Bitcoin, the last that we spoke, Bitcoin was, I believe, just trading in and around the $68,000 to $70,000 region. We had that spike up to around 70,600. And, as long as Bitcoin was above this higher low swing and remains above this higher low swing at around 65,850, then I'm looking for things to generally consolidate and then keep trying to the upside. Currently, Bitcoin is hanging around the basis band of the Bollinger Bands here, and that is coming in at 67,500. It is trading slightly above there. If Bitcoin does lose its current low structure and specifically around 65,850, then in general, I would be looking for it to play back down to the April of 2021 monthly swing high at $65,000. And I would actually give it room down to the close open structure here at around $64,000. If that area is lost, we can then start looking at the top side structure from this higher low that was set down here, which is coming in right around this lower second standard deviation at roughly 63 to 63.5. If that area does break down, well, eyes on this higher low, because this is kind of the danger zone for Bitcoin where it could break down from its current uptrending structure. And, in general, I would be looking somewhere around the 61 to 62 region. If that did not hold up, then we need to look directly at this higher low swing. And that is coming in at 60,000 to 60,150, depending on your exchange. If Bitcoin did happen to break down from that area, we're looking down again to around 58.8 to $59,000, which is coming in at this March of 2021 monthly and quarterly closing structure. Anywhere below there, and I'm looking for a swing of this lower low structure, on a close that's coming in roughly around 50,000 to 50,250. I'm sorry, 58,000 to 58,250, all the way down to that wick low at 56,500. Anywhere below there, of course, if you've been following me, and I would be looking for Bitcoin to step it down to, the area that had previously found resistance this year back in February, which was the 2021 weekly swing high at $53,000, down to the closing structures from August and December of 2021 on the weeklies. It was coming in at roughly 50,000, so 50 to 53,000. That's not my first take, on where price is headed right now, and I'm going to show you what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing here in a moment on the daily and some of the higher term timeframes. We may even check on the 12 hours because that is a nice leading indicator to watch for the daily. Now, in this case, Bitcoin would have a lot of supports to break down to even go retest this lower low. So in general, to the downside, I would be watching for daily closes specifically below 65,850. And if it hadn't already hit 65,000 or $64,000, then I would, be looking in those areas. And then anywhere below there, 63,000 to 63.5 by this lower second standard deviation. And then that lower, the low side rather, by the higher low structure anywhere, down to that $60,000 region roughly. Anywhere below there, bulls give up the uptrend here. So just eyes on that. And for local structure, if we zoom in here, it's actually pretty clear. It is finding support in and around, this little bit of a pullback down to the upper first standard deviation and in and around this high at 66,850. So you do see that there is quite a few wicks on the daily that have hit this downtrending lower high at around that 66,850 region. And, it does have the ability to swing down and try to take this low and still be safe as long as it's closing back above this close open structure, and doesn't fall too much further on a close. So, that zone between 66,850 and 65,850 here by this swing low would be the area to watch to the downside, as that is becoming the primary support. And to the upside, you can see that Bitcoin needs to reclaim 70,600. If we see that, we're looking right back to this high again. Now this is the most recent higher high, and that's coming in at around $72,000, with the close open coming in at 71,432. So if Bitcoin does start trading above 70,600, looking 71 to 72, above 72, we're looking at 73, and the all-time high up here at 73,835, all the way up to roughly 74 to $75,000 by the daily upper third. And then of course above there, you'll see that I have my 75 to 78 zone, 78 to 80, so on and so forth. So let's look at a few other things here on the daily. It's in a strong position, in strong half of the bands right now. It could, if the lower first does head up to this prior higher swing, this higher low swing at 65,850 or so, if we see the lower first there, that is a safe area to tap as well. But we would need to see this last lower high swing at 70,600 taken after any kind of a low structure is put in. Otherwise, it could be consolidating to set up to try some of the further downside supports. Now, momentum will shift back to the upside here on Stoke, which again, this is a regular Stoke, not a Stoke RSI. Stoke RSI measures the velocity of RSI, which we're going to look at in a moment, but this is measuring close over close price momentum. In this case, the momentum pivot is at 70,400 or so. If Bitcoin were to start trading up towards this pivot, which is just under 70,400, you're going to see that pivot number change to 70,400. So it is still pointed down, but it is in a bullish structure, which means that it's more than likely, as long as it's trading above this last higher low swing at 65,850 on a closing basis, more than likely going to get a bullish reset. If it does start to lose that area, that's where it starts to shift bearish. So understand that we also see that Bitcoin is kind of just consolidating in the neutral zone. Yes, there is a head and shoulders in play here on RSI, but we've kind of already seen the majority of that move played out. We even had a little bearish divergence in here that played out as well. So in my opinion, that move is just about over, unless in today's candle into Sunday's weekly closing daily candle, we see something break down. Then, I think that the majority of that initial move has played out. If we do drop down to the 12-hour, just to kind of be a little bit of a bias breaker to the upside or downside, it's actually not giving us much. It's finding support right on this last higher high closing structure on the 12-hour, which is that 67,300 or so. You do see that there is no closes below this last closing structure here, and this was a higher high closing structure. So, if that does start to break down, then we're looking for that 65,850 to get tested and ran. You can see that this is a nice closing and swing higher low structure here on the 12-hour. That would, of course, get continuation at minimum down to the next swing higher low structure, which is roughly $64,000 to $65,000. Now, momentum is telling us that it could have the chance to turn back up on any 12-hour closures above 67,832 right now. Now, the daily candle just opened basically about an hour and a half ago or so, hour and 15 minutes actually here. Now, that does mean, and excuse my voice, it's a little shaky, but that does mean that if Bitcoin, can continue to consolidate above around $67,000, you're going to see this pivot number continue to get closer and closer to where price is currently trading. And then if it does shift back to the upside, well, game on. We start to see a momentum shift. Now, one of the other things I do want to call out here, though, is the Bollinger Band setup. If Bitcoin does trade and close below the lower second standard deviation and then start to break down from its most recent swing lows, and especially that 65,850 swing low. That would be more aggressive expansion down into the downside support here at $65,000. Of course, bringing into play the $64,000 higher lower high structures over here as well. So that would be expansion, and that would indicate that we would be seeing that step down or that markdown in price. To the upside, if Bitcoin can start trading back above around $69,000 by the 12-hour upper first and then take out the upper second standard deviation, which is at 69,800 to 900 area, well, we would need to see one additional piece of criteria for confirmed expansion, and that would be any 12-hour close above the upper third. So start seeing the 12-hour close above the current position of the upper second at around 69.9, almost $70,000. We still need to see a close on the 12-hour above 70,600. That would initiate the expansion look and target up to this most recent higher high structure at around that 71.5 to $72,000. And then of course we can mark up from there to 73 and the all-time high at 73,835 and beyond. So keep a close eye on the 12-hour. It is going to be a very telling time frame for what is likely to occur on the daily. Now, of course, it is a weekend, and weekends have been fairly quiet lately. In the lead up to the halving, weekends were pretty active, and then they got quiet after that, after the halving. So we'll see kind of how things go. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the monthly, because the monthly did close. We have some pretty important things going on here on the monthly. So monthly structure, has held the previous quarterly from the prior cycle, March of 2021, which was a monthly and quarterly. That's this monthly close over here. That was the first closing high that was put in back in 2021 to the second closing high that was put back in 2021 there in November. So we've got our March and October, basically November to October to November here. Now, that area has held very good support. You can see that just below the current low wick of last month, we have the upper first standard deviation. This is now at 55,400. So, fair game to go swing that area. We do often find that in Bitcoin's, expansion to the upside on the monthly and higher term timeframes, the monthly upper first is often used as a support zone. Now, it would not be good, I will tell you, from here for Bitcoin to go and take out last month's low. That would indicate that at minimum, the upper first is going to get tagged at around $55,000. And, in my opinion, a swing down below the lower low that gets pecked back up and gets bought right back into, and especially above the October of 2021 monthly close there at 61,350, then, it's not quite as bearish, but it's probably not what you want to see. And I'm going to show you why, because we have the 2-month close coming in this month's candle. So, Bitcoin opening right in between the support and resistance zone between $65,000 and $69,000 isn't, anything too crazy either. We have a giant monthly order block now. So Bitcoin trading and closing inside of that, getting a nice close open in there. And, roughly the stronger half of that area does mean that, Bitcoin can play above 69 up to the upper second, which is currently coming in at 72,690. Nice. Above there, you can see the upper third is now moved up to $90,000. So, we do have a few interesting things to come that are coming into focus now. I do need to call this out only because it is important. If Bitcoin, by chance, you're going to hear a lot more from me between now and, this possibly happening. But if by chance Bitcoin did lose the upper first, break down through all of the supports at $53,000 to $50,000 and then 47 and 45, which are big monthlies. Well, you can see that there was a beautiful spike back into the January of 2022 monthly close at 38,500. That happened in January of this year. So 2024, you can see that the monthly basis band is now well above its prior higher low which was all the way down here at roughly $25,000. So, it would still be, essentially Bitcoin would be bullish all the way down to 38,500, and remain that way as long as it was, putting in lows above $25,000. And, that's obviously not my first take on what is happening. I do believe that Bitcoin is consolidating and gearing up for a much bigger move to the upside here soon. And the longer it consolidates, the bigger the move, and probably the longer that this move will last, to be quite honest. Because when we look at the monthly, we can see that 65,800, this is where I had previously talked about this in last month's candle, that, in general, I'm looking for Bitcoin to get a bullish reset. And a bullish reset on the monthly, meaning that Stoke came up, it turned down, and the pivot was the high at 73,835. Now that has come down to 65,800 because of that big swing down in the prior month. That was last month's candle is what is changing this pivot around. And that means that if we do see the June candle close above 65,800, we would see a bullish reset on the momentum indicator here. Yes, it is in the overbought zone, but it can hang out here for an extended period of time. Now, I do need to call your attention to the fact that there is no in-trend bearish divergence as it stands right now in the monthly, so I'm not looking for this move to be anywhere even close to over. And just to give you an idea, Bitcoin has kind of started to normalize its RSI on the monthly here, not in the same manner that it has on its stochastic or volatility metrics, but in this case, up to the extreme reads here at 80 to 85, we have some pretty important areas to be aware of, and that would be your bull critical zone, which is at $108,000, basically 107,000 to 108,000. And then we have the user alert level up there, which is this 85 read, which Bitcoin has passed by quite a bit, 97 over here, a 92 over here. So, I would, because it hasn't normalized yet, it's still in lower high territory and lower low territory for RSI. Now, this is not the same look when looking at volatility and momentum based indicators like the regular Stoke. But in this case, we haven't seen a normalization on this RSI yet. So a safe zone to be looking in for its first peak, that would be the first one, would be somewhere around that 80 to 85 region, which gives a lot of room, to be quite honest. I mean, that's between 107 all the way up to 167. That's a $60,000 of room. Now, this will become much clearer once Bitcoin breaks above its current all-time high structure. Then we can refine that number as time goes on. So I did want to point that out. The other thing to be aware of is that the next trending move after Bitcoin does break out and break its all-time high, which I am expecting, I am looking for closures above the upper third to really kick things off. Maybe initially on the daily and weekly timeframes, we find resistance at 75 to 78, 78 to 80, mid to low 80s into $90,000 here by the upper third. But, in general, I would be looking for it to get a big old fat green candle up through that upper third. We have seen it in every parabolic run. Yes, this is a parabolic run in 2021. I know that many did not like that it did not last as long as they wanted, but honestly, it lasted quite a long time. It's just that we had it coming from a much deeper level, but this was, really started in April of 2020, right after the crash there. So, nothing too concerning. And again, this has been a long run up. Now, what we're looking for is, the length of time above the prior all-time high. And, it hasn't really broken out yet. I mean, it's made a new all-time high, but Bitcoin has not broken out yet. So things are really just getting started, to be quite honest. The 2-month is what's in the cards now. Now, I do want to point out a few things. We're going to get rid of the... I've got a lot of stuff that I was looking at here, so my apologies for taking a moment to scroll that. But we are just now getting that compression to expansion on the 2-month. We need to see, we also have confirmed expansion on BBWP, which is the volatility metric for these Bollinger Bands. and that's coming in at 60 over 44. So it's already confirmed expansion above the upper first. We're just looking for that close above the upper second, and then continue on to some of these deeper targets. You can see the upper third is there by around mid $80,000 region. So that's one of the reasons why above the current all-time high, I'm looking 75, 78, 78 to 80, and then mid to low 80s. Before getting to 90, which is the upper third is the mid 80s on the 2-month. The upper third on the monthly is at 90, and then we start looking to $100,000 from there. And I would expect closes above these upper thirds when things really start to get rolling. Now, of course, we need to see the 2-month close above that upper second to really get that aggressive expansion. That's coming in at 70,530, and then of course it's got to close above its prior all-time high. And its current all-time high, so 73,835 would do that, and then we start targeting, in general on the 2-month time frame for price to move up to the mid to low $80,000 regions by that upper third, and then above it if the monthly starts closing more aggressively. We also have the quarterly close coming in. To really begin to kick off the expansion of the Bollinger Bands in the quarterly, you need to see an additional closure above the upper second. Otherwise, the upper first is a candidate to get hit. Any closures from a volatility standpoint, and I want to be very clear about this, still uber bullish. I mean, this, on the quarterly, Bitcoin's uber bullish above the basis band and playing in the strong half of the basis band here, and that's all the way down at 31. I do not think Bitcoin will get there at any point in the near future or maybe ever again. And I've covered this before with Bitcoin production cost, but we can always revisit that in a video next week. But in this case, we need to see closures above the upper second by the end of the quarter here. That's coming in at 67, that's $70,000 even. So any closure this month and quarterly below there still makes that upper first a viable target. Now it's currently at 50,500, which is right around that structure that I've been showing you on the weekly between the weekly closes at 50,800 and 51.8, and then the swing high there at 53. Well, this is also where the 3-month or quarterly upper first is. So from a volatility standpoint, as long as Bitcoin's trading below $70,000, this is an available target from a volatility standpoint, but this will update at the end of the month. So it is going to move higher, likely to around 53 to maybe even 56.5, where the current low side structure is coming in. I don't know if it's going to get that aggressive, but we'll see, of course, at the end of this quarterly. Now, the upper third, where's that coming in? $90,000. So we got the monthly and the quarterly lining up with that $90,000 target. We have the 2-month at around $85,000. So we have some pretty clear areas of interest from a volatility standpoint to the upside. And if we do see a higher term time frame like a monthly, 2-month, and quarterly by the end of this month close above there, things are going to get very raucous to the upside. Now, that's basically all I'm going to say about price. I'm going to elaborate more after the weekly close. So there is a few things of interest going on in the weekly here, and specifically the 5-day, which has got this. I'm going to give you a little preview. The 5-day is going to be closing on, Monday? Yes, it's going to be closing at the end of Monday into Tuesday's candle, I believe. So you see that we have this beautiful, beautiful expansion up. Nice mean reversion back to the basis here. Nice deviation under it. Price basically going sideways and rising. And the basis passing price got back above it and is now rejecting that upper first because we're going from expansion to compression. I had mentioned that, it is starting to paint. Originally, when it first pushed up, it had the ability to keep going, right, until it went sideways. And if it did find support on the upper first, I'd said, we could be looking at a shortened cycle if it continues from here. What you want to see for a longer cycle is this, what we're seeing right now. And that would be the expansion to recompression. And now we have this beautiful compression setup that looks as though it's going to get deeper, and it is starting to look like it's going to kick off in the early part, the expansion phase, so compression to expansion. So we'd be looking for this nice pinch in the volatility of the Bollinger Bands here, and then a close above the upper second or a close below the lower second for volatility expansion. Now, to the downside, volatility expansion would be down into support. Volatility expansion to the upside, which is above the upper second right now, you call it 71,600, 71,800, almost $72,000. It still needs to beat out the all-time high, but it's blue skies from there. So there's no overhead resistance, just people profit taking and stuff like that. So essentially what I'm going to be watching, and the beautiful setup coming into next week, is this 5-day. That is also in conjunction with this weekly closure is going to be very telling of what's going to happen in the early portion of June. So that's going to be something that I hope you tune in for, and I'm going to cover that on Monday. Let's go ahead and jump into ETH real quick. Not going to take a lot of time with ETH. I know a lot of people are disappointed that it didn't hit a new all-time high because of the news regarding an ETF. Look, there's a lot of details. S1s still need to be filed and accepted. So, this is not happening anytime soon. But just to follow up with what I had previously said in recorded format, as long as ETH is trading above 3,700, and especially on the daily here above 35, you can see the basis band is now there. We got that 35 tap and overhead resistance tap into the May and August of 2021 area. Remember when it broke out above 37.25 or so, I had mentioned overhead resistance is going to be this area from May and August of 2021. Those are weeklies coming in at around 39.50 to 41.50 or 60. Basically 4K to 4,200. Well, it tapped the bottom side of that resistance, and it tapped all the way down nearly to the dollar or penny here on that bottom side support that we had there. Now, as long as it's trading and holding this area at around 3,700, then in general, I'm looking for a consolidation to try up for this, 39.50, 4K, possibly 4,200 and above. Right now, I need to see this consolidate a bit more. If it were to start poking its price action above that 4,200 or right in and around the upper second by 4,200, it's likely to get rejected. Because we are in an expansive phase, which means that this is going to be some primary volatility resistance overhead. If it really green candled its way up, it could test its prior all-time high on a close at 4,600, maybe even through it. That would be crazy from here, to be quite honest, without some more consolidation. But that would be around your 4,800 to 5K region for the targets. Now, what you want to see for this consolidation is it can play all the way down to the 3,500 region, and you want to see it maintaining that area to the downside. So basically this big wick low that just came in around the announcements of what was going on with the possible confirmation of basically the SEC saying S1s need to be filed, but we've accepted the other paperwork. So what this does mean is above 3,500, looking for more consolidation to resolve in an upside move, and very, very strong consolidation above 3,700. You can give it room. It can dip down into this support. It's nice that it's been holding it, but it can dip down with no problems. From a momentum perspective, this thing's pretty cooked to the upside, so you do want to see a nice bullish reset. So you want to see basically 3,500 to 3,700 hold. Primary overhead resistance is going to be your 39.50 to 41.50. Or depending on your exchange, you can take 4K to 4,200. If it moves there immediately, beware of violent rejections to the upside. And if it moves down, do not get too bearish unless you see it break below 3,500. Then you can start looking down to, all the way down to, 3,250 to 3,300 or so. Still would be bullish above this prior swing higher low from the giant candle up, and that's all the way down at basically 3K. So looks good. It's fine. It's just consolidating. Give it some time. Sol is still in kind of a precarious position right now. It needs to hold 160. It keeps tapping on it. If it loses it, then we're marking down. It can swing below there, 157. maybe 155. I wouldn't want to see it down here around this low because then it's likely to find this area as resistance. But if it swings down below 160, 155 is fair game to that 157 by the lower second, which is right on this lower high close open. Below there, roughly looking to 150 even. Anywhere below there, it endangers this last higher low structure down here, somewhere, down around that 140 all the way down to like 135. In general, I'd be looking for this to get rolling again to the upside above 175 by the upper first standard deviation, this high over here that it swung above and closed above on a deviation. So again, looking for accumulation above 160. If it can break out above 175, we're looking back to its local high, somewhere around 185 to 190. Above there, we're looking to the 200s over here, all the way up to the highs around 210. And then this is a big all-time high zone from the prior cycle between basically 208 to 260. I would take it one step at a time, maybe 10 to 15 bucks or 20 bucks, depending on how fast it's moving. I will likely talk to you before it gets moving anyway. If it does move, initiate. I chewed on words and then coughed them all out at once. If it does initiate a move up there. All right, so let's go ahead and look at KAS real quick. And KAS is, again, same kind of look. This is accumulating right in the zone that we had spoken of between this overhead resistance at around 14 to 14 and a half and holding this 13 downside. You want to see 13 continue to hold. I think since we've spoke last week, yeah, so it did test around 13 cents. I actually was a buyer in this area myself. And then did a short-term trade up and have been refilling that same bag. I didn't fully empty that particular trade bag, or close that particular trade because I am looking for this to hang out above like 13.2, 13.3 cents. If it does start to lose that area, be aware of 13 cents even. Anywhere below there, I'm looking for a step down all the way to 12.3 to 12.4 cents by this high. That possibly would endanger this swing low over here at 12 cents even, and then it's a quick trip down to the 11-cent region. Now, if it can get above, around 14 cents to 14 and a half, I'm looking to 15 cents up here by the upper second on the daily. If it can break out above this larger structure, be aware of price action in and around the deeper 15-cent region towards 16 cents that gets rejected. Because you would want to see then this local high structure around 14 and a half hold as support, all the way down to 14 even or so. Above there, we're looking directly to around 16 to 17 cents up here. And then above there, it's a big range, basically 17 to 20 cents or so. And then I'd be looking for a breakout above 20 cents to about 25 cents. Looks pretty good. Nothing wrong with this, doing some consolidation. It's trying to reaccumulate and turn this structure around. It's been very good at doing so to this point. And I want to note something very important. If this weekly closes anywhere above 12 cents, rather, not 10 cents, 12 cents, this is going to be a full-on bullish reset on the weekly in the context of higher low structure on the weekly, which is pointing up. At minimum, trading and closing above that 13.28 cents basis band, which is the top side of the support zone that it keeps tagging. And I'd be looking up to around that 15-cent region. Like I just said, that's also the upper first on the weekly, and then right to that 17-cent region by the current high side or higher high structure up there between that 17-cent and just about 19 to 20-cent region. So anywhere above the upper second, and then of course 20 cents, I'm looking for weekly expansion to the upside and probably big old green candles in through 25 and 30 cents, so on and so forth. Looks very good. Very, 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 very strong. And that was a lot of varies because I was afraid that I was going to lose my voice there. Looks good. Let's go ahead and take a look at some runes. I know this is a long video, but you can watch this in sections if you like. If you made it this far, you've already watched most of the video. Let's go ahead and look at some runes here. So we've got Dog, had a beautiful, beautiful breakout on the daily time frame above its prior highs up here. We can mark this area now as an area that we would like to see hold as support. And let's go ahead and do that. I will clean this chart up and kind of prep it for our live streams next week. But in general, on the daily, you want to see this holding above 0.006 cents, and it's bullish. I mean, realistically, this thing can drop all, like this would be hellacious for people buying up here, but this thing could drop all the way to 0.0045 cents again, and it's still stupidly bullish for its local structure, and it looks fine right now. Nice little pullback after beautiful expansion in the 4 hour here. Areas of interest, again, at extremes to the downside, at least initially, probably getting bounces would be your 0.005 cents region down here to that 0.05758 cent region. There is a nice order block right here as well before getting that continuation of expansion to the upside. And right now, this is clearly just mean reversion. So, you know, we had a beautiful move to the upside and then mean reversion back to the basis. As long as it's hanging above, you know, this higher low right here, which is the lower first at the that volatility level at 0.006 cents, looking good. Again, this was the prior opening structure down here at 0.057 to 0.005 cents here on dog. So looks very good, looks very strong. Probably looking at continuation, especially if you know, if it kind of hangs out where it is right now over the weekend. And then in general, I would be looking for bullish resets. You can draw a trend line here, and it's basically broken down from it. So you do want to see it holding those downside supports. Hourly looks pretty good to turn up on any closes back above 0.007 cents. So that would look pretty good. And it is currently trading above there. So we'll see what happens. Of course, you have the uptrending structure that has now shifted to a downtrending structure. So in order to change trend, it needs to get back above its current basis. And this swing high here at around, what is this? This is going to be 0.077 or 0.078 cents basically on an hourly close. And then it can try to step its way up to 0.081 and then try for those highs again. That would be a trend break to a shift possibly to an uptrend. But right now we have clear, you know, beautiful expansion to the upside. Had a nice compression, then trend change to the downside from uptrend to downtrend and downtrend on expansion. So be aware of pumps that fail at that 0.078 cent region. So that is my take on dog right now. At, you know, max pain is probably going to be like 0.005 cents if it really does go down that far. I'm not fully convinced, but we'll see. The other big one is going to be RUNECOIN. We'll use Gate.io for this because I think this is the one that we were, in general, the one that we were charting. It is it tagged our red line down here, deviated below it. This was, you know, kind of an area of interest prior that we had talked about. We did get that deviation, and I hadn't talked to you since then, but it held this low side structure. So if you were watching it there, I don't think I had talked about Rune since then. But yeah, it needed to reclaim 0.008 cents to 0.009 cents, and then above a penny, we were looking for it to aggressively move up, and it has done so. So above, and if it can remain above this area at around 0.098 to 1 penny, then in general, we're looking for reaccumulation. Obvious, really nice structure to the upside. Now, the thing you do need to be aware of is this is a big wick or sell-off. So there's a lot of overhead pressure. So what you want to see is it kind of form a nice range between 1 penny and about 1.5 cents. And then start to break out later. It would not be healthy if it started to push up above here, and then you're likely to find a lot of selling pressure coming in. Even if it does rip hard, it's just that, you know, you'd rather see it, if you're really bullish on it moving up sooner rather than later, then you want to see a nice accumulation on the hourly, 4 hour, and so forth, that then can kind of crawl its way up and take those highs while maintaining 1 penny as a downside support. You know, uptrend to downtrend shift. We do have a compression going on right now and a possible shift back up on the hourly here. 4 hours pretty cooked and looking down. Daily is probably not enough. I mean, it's a clear reversal structure here on the daily. And, you know, it's kind of caught in between support and resistance. You know, we have this lower high structure coming in at that 1 penny region to this 1.135 region. So 1.13 cents up here. Daily upper seconds there at 1.2 cents. Daily upper third. Yeah, so this needs some time to reaccumulate. Basically, above a penny, it's looking pretty good. And you don't want to see it get too quick back to 1.5 cents, 1.5 cents. Or my general take on that would be you're going to see some selling pressure up there. Let's go ahead and look at what was one of the other ones? Decentralized. Man, I said Decentraland. That's if you've been around a while, that was a while ago, and this is not that. That's CoinX. Let's not do CoinX. Let's do Gate.io. It's got some cleaner price action here. Now, one of the things that I have noticed is, and I've mentioned this in one of my streams, Decentralized was just listed fairly recently. This is a beautiful structure on this. Now, yes, big wicks down. You did not see this reflected in the marketplaces like Magic Eden and so on and so forth. But here on, after listing, it got just absolutely slammed down to 0.0000933 cents or so, and even under for Gate.io. That's due to very little liquidity. But what I do like is that we have a nice breakout. We have a beautiful support zone to watch at 0.0022 cents. And all the way up to 0.0025 cents, which is kind of what I want to see it accumulate in for another bullish try to the upside. And you might also note that this is right around where its wick high was when it first listed, around that 0.0222 cents. Now, this area is one of the things that I want to note about decentralized. I'm going to keep calling it Decentraland, so my bad on that. But one of the things I want you to know about it is, like RUNECOIN, it's got about 21 billion supply, and it has a giant community, and it has a very nicely distributed holder base. So that is something that maybe in a moment I'll get into. We are running long on this, but we are covering a lot of stuff. But for our basis band is right there at that 0.022. You don't want to see it dropping below there. That's where all these highs are coming in. Then we're stepping it down quite a bit, into the 0.018 cent to 0.02 cent region. And then anywhere below there, and it's hunting the lows again at 0.015 cents or so. But if it can start consolidating here, move back above around 0.025 cents, then I would look for it to play up to its current high side structure around 0.003 cents and possibly beyond. People are starting to understand that if you're going to equate coins and communities, Decentralized has a very large community, much like RUNECOIN, which is your RISC miners and stuff that were going. And they've got a lot of plans and a lot of stuff coming, and they are probably going to get listed in and around the same times that others do. And if they don't get listed, like let's say Dog and RUNECOIN get listed on a major exchange before this one, you're likely going to see everybody go for this one next, because this would be the next big market cap coin, for one of the bigger exchanges to most likely list. Big community, about 45,000 holders. And I think right now is undervalued versus some of the other RUNECOINs. That is just an opinion. You need to do your own research. I'm not the be all end all on this. It could go to zero. But I just identified this as being a good play. LOBO is another one that I think is a pretty good play as well, and it's got a beautiful structure on the daily. I mean, look at that reversal. Beautiful reversal. Now, it is, of course, got a lot of work to do. But relative to its supply and its holder base, it is, in my opinion, as it currently stands, a little undervalued. I don't think now is the time to get in. I think it's got some downside left in it. I could be wrong. It is playing in the strong half of the bands right now, around the basis band. It broke out above the 0.0009 cent region. It's now trading at 0.013. It's kind of where Decentralized was, right? And it's got, I believe, a 21 billion supply, whereas Dog has 100 billion supply. So, there is the dynamic there of like, okay, RUNECOIN is trading at, a penny and over, And that's because it has a 21 billion supply versus Dog, which has a larger market cap, but it's got 100 billion supply. So I do think that this is probably going to catch some heat in the longer term. It's finding beautiful support on these highs, and that's coming in around that, 0.001 cent to 0.0013 cent region. So big zone that you do want to keep an eye on is basically, this high side structure all the way here. You want to see some accumulation here, and you don't want to see it lost. And in this case, if it's lost, it's going to go test, probably bullishly, but it'll lose that 0.001 cent region. And in general, from the look here, to remain nice and bullish, you want to see it above this high. You don't want to see a bearish reclaim of this high back here, which was testing that 0.001 cent region. So accumulation in this zone can move down to the lower first at 0.001 cent. Don't want to see that lost. And as long as it's accumulating, as soon as it starts breaking back above, 0.015, target the highs at 0.018. And then it's got a little ways to go, but it can start moving to 0.02 cent and above to where it initially wicked after listing at just under 0.03 cent regions there at 0.028 cent region, or just about thereabouts. And that would put it in line with something like decentralized. So, and just for context, that move from here to get to where, where decentralized is 100% increase. Just so you understand the context there. The other nice thing is, I believe, I believe Magic Eden has updated their rune charts here. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's just pick any of the top runes here. We'll go Dog, for instance. Yes, so now they have a chart. Very nice. I would like to see candles. That would be really cool because they have the longest history, right? So I would like to see candles. Let's see what the weekly is looking like. Oh, man. All right, cool. I think that's what advanced is. It does show candles there. So that would be really cool. Probably not, chartable with the tools that we have, but would, for structure is pretty good. I'll be honest, on the weekly, it's kind of a little toppy consolidation look here. So right where it is, we do want to see it kind of consolidating and then pushing back up. Otherwise, we're moving to 10 sats, loses 10 sats, and it's pretty big move down to 9.5 to 9 sats. The equivalent there we've looked at on the prior chart. So on the weekly looks good to reaccumulate, but if it continues the downtrend, not going to look quite as good. But this is cool. Probably not relevant for us here until it has advanced charts. And then we can do a little bit of a comparison and then talk about arb trading between lots that you can buy or sell on Magic Eden versus what it's trading at on centralized exchanges where you can have arbitrage opportunities. And we'll discuss that as Epic was one of the big ones. Even kicked off a little bit today where there's a beautiful arb opportunity where it was pumping here on Magic Eden. Even though it was pumping on the exchanges, it was not nearly as high. You could get some arb trading in there. And then it topped out and sold off quite heavily. All right, so that is going to do it for me today. You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe, and of course, as always, stay safe. Message me on Twitter, or X rather, and let me know if I missed anything that I said I was going to get to. Yeah, I will have shorter videos, obviously recorded videos out next week, but there was a lot to catch up on today, so this is a long form video. And I will also be back streaming, and I will also have some Discord live Q&A TA focus sessions. I'm looking into a decent time on my schedule, and we'll talk to Loki over at New Bitcoin Order, and we'll do one there. and try to get those of you from the other communities that I'm also a part of, like Pepe Ordinals Maxis, Sigmas, Nat Monkeys, so on and so forth, over into that, so we can all hang out. I think that would be really cool. And of course, we'll have another live voice chat, TA Q&A over at Pepe Ordinals Maxis, and then maybe something with Sigma. We'll see what's happening. Got to get in touch with the guys over there. That would be really cool, though, and have us all kind of get to know each other in the different communities. Communities coming together in the ordinal space and rune space, I think is going to be very powerful coming up very shortly. So I do want to wish you all a wonderful weekend as well. Thank you all for the well wishes for my son. I do really appreciate it. He's doing well, and mom and dad are extremely tired, but we're also doing well. I did want to say thank you for all the love, and yeah, I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next week.